Thank you, everyone, for joining us this morning to continue with the Laredo Field Office rollout of the PRIDE Initiative, and also announcing the professional service managers for the Rio Grande Valley. Today, the Hidalgo, Rio Grande City, Roma ports of entry, which are within the Laredo Field Office, will follow the lead of our field office to reassure the public that CBP Field Operations is committed to leading by example. CBP Office of Field Operations and the Director of Field Operations, David Higerson, fully understands that the need exists to place greater emphasis on our core values and professionalism in order to reflect our characters as individuals and as an agency. Before I introduce our port director for the Hidalgo-Pharr-Anzalduas Port of Entry, Efrain Solis Jr., I would like to thank and acknowledge some of our guests today. From Congressman Henry Cuer's office, we have Ms. Nicole Hernandez. Thank you, ma'am. From the Mexican Consul's office in McAllen, we have our Consul, Mr. Erasmo Martinez. Okay, we also have some representatives from the Pharr Bridge, International Bridge. I want to welcome and thank them for being here, and also from the Maquila Association. Thank you, sir. Thank you all for being here. At this time, I want to present our port director, Mr. Efrain Solis. He will initiate the press event. Thank you.
Good morning. I want to thank everyone for attending. There for a while, I was starting to panic because it was 9:30 and there was nobody here, and I was going, uh-oh. I go, it's just going to be us and Mike Myers. He was the first one here. And I said, gee, only the Maquila showed up today. But no, I want to thank everyone for being here on a serious note. But it is, we're very happy to announce the initiative that we have, what we call PRIDE, and it stands for professionalism, respect, integrity, diversity, and excellence. It's a program that is kind of, it's a spin-off of what we call the Public Service Manager, but it now is Professionalism Service Manager. As an agency, we all know that we're tasked with national security, but we're also there to facilitate travel and trade. But we have to do those with emphasis on our core values of the agency. And the agency strives for vigilance, service, and integrity, and we intend to do that with that in mind with the professional service manager. We want to build a culture and character that is reflective of the individuals that work for this agency and the agency itself to be proud. Our public service manager, professionalism service managers, we're going to serve as coaches and mentors for our officers because they're out there working with everybody, and we want them to be engaged. We intend for them to go out there and capture what's really going on in the operations world that we do every day. We operate out here in the commercial trade. We operate also with travelers every day. There's thousands of people coming through. Our job is to facilitate it, but in a professional manner. And when we do have some events or issues, we want to have that capability and the mechanism to address them. But also, we also want to capture the positive side. There's a lot of positive comments being made by the public about our officers and the great work that we do, but we're not capturing it well, and with the PRIDE Initiative, we intend to do that. What will the program consist? The program consists, and it intends to kind of consolidate the existing CBP complaint management system into a single database. And this is nationally, not just locally here with our port. It is a national. It is intended to be implemented in the air, sea, and land environments. It consists of tracking and improving the response rates for our agency so that we can address, like I said, positive and negative, as well as identifying areas of opportunity for the overall professionalism and enhancement within CBP Office of Field Operations. We want to advance, like I said, our professionalism within the organization, encourage positive interactions, and to foster a culture of pride and respect within the workforce and also for the people that we serve every day, our stakeholders, our trade, and the international traveler. Part of that is to instill a culture of pride and respect, but also we want to make sure it involves the interaction between our officers, as we have our uniform image, everything else that we do, but also with the traveling public and how we communicate and interact on a daily basis on that individual unique interview, because every arrival is unique. Every person arriving is a person and has unique admission capabilities or qualities that we need to address. The newly PSM role is an example of how we are advancing our core values within CBP, as I said. Their main role is to be proactive. They're out there capturing the complaints or those compliments. They will serve as ambassadors for our agency and the traveling public. And like I said, they're there to be coaches, mentors, and advisors to the CBP and also the managers. They're there to supply feedback of what's going on, not just to the managers, but also to the officers. If we're receiving complaints or issues, their job is also tasked is to meet with those officers and address those issues. Sometimes it may be the way we communicate, the way we deliver a message. Our job is, like I said, international as far as national security, travel and trade, but how we communicate, how we deliver that message is key to understanding. The PSM is an individual who will clearly communicate the OFO mission, our professional standards, our code of conduct to the employee to understand what those consequences are if there's a violation in that. He's there to identify and recognize exemplary employees. Many times I do receive an email or a comment card from the public saying, you know what, I went through your report, I want to thank you, I want to recognize that employee, but somehow in the cracks we've dropped them, we don't deliver that message. It seems to be always in the negative when we want to also capture the positive, because I believe we do a great job as an agency in supporting the communities, the trade and the travel. The Rio Grande Valley is booming. Everybody looks around and we see the hotels, the restaurants, Padre Island, people come here to shop at the outlets, everything else. The valley is very unique in that even during bad economic times in other areas of the country, the valley was still growing and continues to grow. And talking to the Mexican Consul, we talk about it, and he's been very engaged and concerned about how we handle the trade. And as far as economic boom for the Rio Grande Valley, we have a new university, medical university. There's going to be a lot more international travelers coming through here. McAllen Miller Airport will play a key role, as well as the Edinburgh Airport once it gets going. I do want to say that the PSM is not responsible for the behavior of the individual employees, but they are there to capture that and reflect it to management so we can address it. We have a saying amongst us right now that we have, and it's written on top of the conference room. It says, professionalism begins with me. And it begins with the port director, the APDs, the chiefs of staff, the watch commanders, and the individual officers that do the work every day. So professionalism begins with me, and it begins with every single employee here at this port and all the other ports. As public servants, we're held to a higher standard, regardless of our rank and title. We need to lead by example in our day-to-day duties, how we interact with each other, and how we interact with the trade and the stakeholders. So we encourage the members of the trade community and the traveling public to speak to supervisors when it's a positive or a negative. We'd like to hear from you. We want to be able to capture those and monitor those comments and complaints so that we can provide actionable recommendations to us, the field leadership, and beyond. Things that sometimes it's a policy that needs to be changed. So the only way to do that is to capture those complaints or those compliments sometimes and address them locally, and if they can't be addressed locally, then we will address them at the national level. Our position is unique in the field operations. It's because we're here to serve and protect. We process the legitimate travel and trade. Those people who have documents to enter the country. That trade commodity that has been sanctioned to enter the country. That's our job. So we are, as I said, ambassadors to the citizens and the visitors of this country. The first visitor that enters the United States, the first person they meet is someone in blue. That's our job, and we have to do it professionally. The expansion of the program is calling for enhanced communications internally and externally. Internally amongst the managers and the agency, and externally with the stakeholders, the traveling public, and of course the media. We're here to serve. We want to be more accountable, and the PRIDE is the way to do it. The program is there, and that's why we're proud, and we're really happy to have it. OFO employees are expected to carry out their duties in a professional manner, treat each other professionally, and the traveling public and stakeholders with dignity and respect. The selection criteria for our professionalism service managers is, one, is they have to have a strong belief in the professionalism mission, strong interpersonal communication skills, a professional appearance and demeanor, and of course, skills of diplomacy. You got to be able to talk not just to the public, but amongst our officers, the people in blue. In a summary, the professionalism service manager is there to foster professional culture, lead by example, mentor and coach the peers and their subordinates, promote public awareness, do some outreach, talk to people, what's going on. You got to know what the external environment is telling you. Promote public awareness, be an ambassador for the agency to the stakeholders and the traveling public, respond to the travelers, the trade, the stakeholder compliments, complaints, and of course concerns. We do that all the time. We always form committees or forums to listen to the trade, to listen to the bridge board managers, to listen to the Maquila Association. We want to know, what are your concerns, what are your issues? We want to solve them at the table. We don't want to hear about them as far as in writing afterwards. We want to be able to address those issues, and I believe that the trade and the community have been there for us, and they know that we try. In closing, what I want to say is, after everything that's going on here, I want to recognize we have the port directors of Rio Grande and Roma, because they fall in this area. South of us, we have Progreso and, of course, Brownsville, and I believe they're going to be doing their own PRIDE.
Yes.
So what I want to do is to say is that closings is Customs and Border Protection Field Operations is a premier law enforcement agency in the United States, and in order to better embody that ideal, we realize the critical importance of reinstilling and strengthening our culture and professionalism through our ranks. So when we say professionalism begins with me, we're talking about the individual officer. We are responsible for our behavior and the way we treat the public. So that's our stance right there. And I believe that the PRIDE program and the initiative is that mechanism to help us there. We want to change the culture. We want to change the image. We do not want to be seen as an agency that is callous and does not care and is not responsive to the concerns of the community. So I want to thank you all for being here. And Mr. Moreno, what's next, sir? Sir? Is it Consul or Ambassador?
No, Consul.
Consul, yeah. If you don't know, he was promoted to Ambassador of Kenya.
Kenya, yes, sir.
Yeah, so that's still,
I think we did my last post as Consul of Mexico somewhere, you know.
Ah.
I'm very proud of being that now.
Consul Martinez?
Here also.
Consul Martinez, you come up here, sir. Pásale.
Yes, good morning, and thank you very much. I have just arrived, you know, from a trip of 3 weeks. I was out of town, and of course I'm getting aware, what's going on here in this area, and this is a very important thing, that is happening in this border. I can say that as a consulate, we have an extremely good relationship with authorities here, with all authorities, and of course, especially with CBP and with Mr. Solis. Complaints is something, that has been always in our agenda. Of course, we have millions of people crossing the border, the Mexico-U.S. border every day. And of course, things happen, sometimes. There are things that sometimes as organizations, whatever organization we talked about, we don't have sometimes full control of all of the acts of people, And then that is when things happen, and sometimes do not help the organizations, And I'm talking about all of them. So, but I can tell you that we have been having an excellent relationship, and thanks to that, we have been able to present whatever complaint, reach our office. That sometimes arrive, and I have always found an excellent disposition from CBP and especially from Mr. Solis to deal with all that. So to me, this PRIDE program today is a surprise, a good surprise. This is a very important program, which I welcome, and I understand that Congressman Henry Cuellar had a lot to do with this, and please my regards and express our thanks also for this initiative, which is very important. I'm a border man. I grew up here on the border, and I fully understand what this program is meant for, and it's going to be a great help to all of us. To make this border more human. And I'm sure that we'll be able to improve much better our exchanges, and to me as consul, the respect for human dignity is extremely important, and we take very seriously always whenever there is a complaint. So I'm sure that with this program, we'll be able to reduce and almost disappear, I could say, all the problems that we might have in the crossings. So I really thank you very much for all this help. This is a program that is going to help a lot, and we are always willing to help whenever there's a need. We'll continue to be working together in order to make this border a better place, for interacting. And so I really thank you very much for all this. Thank you very much, Mr. Solis.
Thank you, Consul Martinez, and soon-to-be Ambassador Martinez.
Well, thank you.
Sorry. Okay, at this time, we're going to go ahead and introduce the professionalism service managers. We're going to start off with the Port of Roma. We have the Port Director, Crescencio, Cantu. Mr. Cantu.
Good morning, welcome, members of the press, co-workers. My name is Crescencio Cantu. I'm the Port Director for the Port of Roma and Falcon Dam. Falcon Dam and Roma are in between Laredo and McAllen, and Roma is open for business 24 hours a day. Falcon Dam is open for business from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. We have about 120 employees to cover both bridges. So again, that's our area of operation. And today we're here. We proudly are here to represent OFO, Office of Field Operations, in this new and to advance this particular initiative of professionalism. So I'd like to also present who is going to be doing that particular job, that important job that I think that requires somebody with the integrity and the skills and professionalism that this particular employee has. And this tasking has been given to Chief Custom Border Protection Officer Mr. Hector Pruneda. He has a wealth of experience. He comes from the San Diego Port of Entry, has worked at El Paso Port of Entry, Eagle Pass Port of Entry, Laredo Port of Entry, and most recent San Antonio, and now Roma. So again, I present to you the Professional Service Manager for the Port of Roma and Falcon Dam, Mr. Hector Pruneda.
Thank you, Mr. Cantu. Okay, also from the Rio Grande City Port of Entry, we have the Port Director, David John Gonzalez.
Good morning. I'm David Gonzalez. I'm the brand new Port Director out there. I've only been out there for 1 month. I do come from the Port of Hidalgo, so I do know what a big port is, also with the same needs of a small port. We're extremely proud to be taken up with the PRIDE program. It's something that we've done in the past, but we have a great system for accounting for the good and the bad that we all do. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce my PSM manager, which is a Supervisor Olivares. He's also local. He's from the city of Rio Grande City. And what I wanted to emphasize, I think you see the officers that have come up here and they're placing a red ribbon. That represents to everybody that is the passenger service manager for that port, the professionalism service manager for that port. But I want to also emphasize that obviously he's not going to be there 24 hours a day. And we want to encourage the public to know that they can reach out to any manager. So if they ever have an issue, positive or negative, that they should always ask to speak to a supervisor, a chief, a watch commander, that we're always available. There's always a member of management somewhere along that port. And we strongly encourage you, if nothing else, for this outreach that we're doing today, is that we want you to reach out. We want to become aware of the things that are happening out there. We can't be at all places at all times. So when you have something good or bad happen to you, please reach out to one of us. Their main role will be to account for everything that happens, so we can see whether we're getting better, and so we can address the specific issues that are going on at the various ports. I also like to emphasize that the smaller ports have no less of a standard for the traveling public than a larger port. Although sometimes we're stressed for resources, we're still all in this together. The standard at any port should be the same no matter you enter to New York, Laredo, Hidalgo, Brownsville, Rio Grande City, Roma, or Progreso. And just quickly, because the Port Director for Progreso is not here today, but I was acting for Progreso for quite a few months, I'd like to introduce the Assistant Port Director for Progreso, Mr. Walter Weaver. Once again, I want to reemphasize again that just because they're the ones that represent our ports, that every manager is there. Every port has a unique ability. I think right now, as you know, at the Port of Progreso, we have the winter Texan population that's in right now. And that continues for the rest of the month, where our pedestrians are anywhere from 4,000 to 5,000 a day. I know that for a fact because they're out there at Los Ebonos, which is another port that I oversee also. So please make sure that you reach out to one of us. If you see us, feel free to ask any questions you may have. A lot of times we're confused or may not be aware of some of the policies and why we do what we do. And we understand sometimes we're seen as unprofessional because we're doing things and nobody takes the time to explain to you why they must be done. So what we're saying is with this, part of this program is to also educate you on why we do, when we do it, and why it's necessary to be done. And I think if we educate the traveler a little bit, the stakeholders, and they understand we want to make this a partnership with not only the stakeholders, but also with the public. We want to expedite your travel into the valley as quickly as possible. Thank you, Walter.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. At this time, I want to go ahead and call the Port Director for Hidalgo-Pharr-Anzalduas to introduce our PSMs.
You could have just done them right there.
All right. Well, we're kind of fortunate. We have two, but then again, I've got almost 500 employees under my command here, so we can afford two. So I have Esteban Garcia, Supervisor Esteban Garcia, and I have Acting Chief Imelda Recio. And they're kind of out there working, and I want you to contact them. They're constantly I get my morning briefings from them on what's going on, because you kind of have your finger on the pulse of what's going on in your operations every day. Hidalgo is 24/7. Pharr only operates between 7 and midnight. Anzalduas 6 and 10 p.m. But we get a significant amount of traffic. We process on an average about 23,000 people per day, a good 15,000 cars right now, and a good about 2,200 trucks a day. So we're constantly loaded, a lot of traffic. We have some challenges, but we always strive to make sure that everyone gets processed efficiently and professionally. So thank you.